Everybody's mic on?
Yes.
All right. Can we have a roll? Let's see if we have a quorum.
Mr. Elfman, Ms. Ellis, Mr. Maxey,
Here.
Mr. McGinley,
Here.
Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Lamberts.
Here.
Mr. McTeague,
Here.
Chair Nelson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. Let me call the February 9th meeting of the City of Fort Lauderdale Board of Adjustment to order. Mr. Maxey, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. We have in our packets the minutes of our last regularly held board meeting. I know you've all had a chance to read them thoroughly, so do I have a motion with respect to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. And a second. Any changes, additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, can you please call the, actually, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Please show unanimous approval. And I need to find my real agenda as opposed to my last month's agenda so that I know which cases we're rolling through. Unless, of course, Malik wants to hand me an agenda. Thank you very much. I understand that we may have a, well, actually, before we do that, why don't we swear in?
Anyone who intends to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give at this public hearing will be truthful
It's a
and
majority
accurate? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, before we move forward, Mr. Assistant City Attorney, we have a 5-member quorum. What do we need to pass a motion today?
So our code of ordinance requires that all items are passed with a majority plus one, which means that of members present. So you have 5 members present, which requires 4 members to
For
pass
the passage of any item.
tonight.
So if anybody wants to consider that in whether or not they want to be heard tonight or defer to another agenda where we might have a full board, we'll obviously take that up. Are there any requests for deferral? Come to the... And Mr. Edward, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so is this on items both number 2 and case number 3?
Yes.
Have you been sworn?
Yes.
Okay, you just got sworn in. So let's start with case number 2, Board of Adjustment case number PLN BOA 2012-0001, which is 629 Northeast 18th Avenue. Are you seeking a deferral?
Yes.
Any member of the audience wishing to speak strictly to the item of the issue of deferral? And Mr. Jernigan,
Skeet
your
Jernigan. Is it my understanding?
address for the record, Skeet?
I will do that. I've always been concerned about doing that when you're in a public meeting that's being broadcast. Pretty much a clue that they know you're not home.
You can give your business address.
There you go. 648 Northeast 18th Avenue. Is my understanding correct that it is the applicant's prerogative to ask for a deferral, and that is generally approved, or is it allowable for the public to object to the deferral?
Well, everything you've said so far is correct. It's their prerogative to ask for one. They are generally approved. It is your right to object to it, and the board hears a deferral and decides whether they want to grant one or not.
we will agree to the deferral for tonight.
Very good. Any questions from the board on this? We don't need to do a voir dire because we're not really going into anything substantive tonight. So is there a motion for, and Mr. Edward, are you asking for a deferral till when?
The next, board hearing.
Which would be our March board hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion with respect to the request for deferral?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve a deferral till the regularly scheduled March 2022 board meeting. Do I have a second? Second. And I've got a second. I don't know that we need a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show unanimous approval. Don't go anyplace. With respect to Board of Adjustment case number 2012-0002, 1765 Northeast 6th Court. Mr. Edward, do you also seek a deferral on that matter?
Yes.
And if you would, again, once, just for a clear record, reintroduce your name into the record.
Yes, Cabot Edward.
Very good. Any member of the audience that would like to speak with respect to that deferral? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the board? And that is also, I take it, to the March,
Correct.
regularly scheduled
Correct.
March 2022 board.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve a deferral of that item to the regularly scheduled March 2022 board agenda. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're free for the night.
Thank you.
Sorry to get everybody out on a rainy evening, but at least you're getting to go home early.
Maybe they can figure it out.
All righty. Why don't we go back to our regular agenda? Any other requests for deferral? Short board, we just don't want to hear it? No? Why don't we start at the top of the agenda, which is case number 1, Mateus and Gina Colombo. Item number 2011-0001. Are the applicants here?
Yes.
Sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Matias Colombo, 2431 Sugarloaf Lane.
All right, can we go through a voir dire? Any contact with respect to this item?
None.
None.
None for me?
None.
None.
Very good. Sir, you've been sworn?
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Basically, I'm asking for 2 setbacks, one on the south side. We're asking for 2 feet 7 inches, and one on the north side, which is 4 feet 4 inches. Basically, on the 2'7" side, there's an existing carport, and I would just like to enclose it and make it into a real garage, and then fix the balconies that are there adjacent to it, and follow that line all the way to the end of the house. And then on the 4'4" side, when I purchased the house less than a year ago, there was an existing closet, and we just want to make that legal.
And, sir, I've got a couple of questions. Is that your entire presentation?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I just
Okay.
wanted to make everything legal and close my garage mainly.
Do you want to put anything into the record with respect to the hardship requirement for the granting of a variance? The board's ability to grant a variance requires that you show a hardship that would prevent you from literal compliance with the code.
Well, for the one that's 4 feet 4 inches, the storage is already there, so the hardship, I guess it's that it's already there. I mean, I can't tear it down. And then for the side of the carport and the roof is kind of falling apart, and it's original structure from 1952 or 62. So I would just like to fix that and enclose it.
Okay. Any questions by the board? I've got a couple of questions for staff.
Are there other examples of old carports that were closed into garages over there?
Yeah, actually, there's, I don't know, maybe like 40 pictures of different
Okay.
ones that all around the neighborhood that they enclosed. Yes.
Very good.
Something you
So it's in
definitely want-
keeping with the neighborhood to do it?
Yes, it's in keeping with the style of, the renovations that I've done in the neighborhood.
Very good. Someone else? Mike?
Any other questions?
Are you adding any square footage to the house that doesn't currently?
No, not really. The base of the square footage of the bottom floor is staying the same. We're just basically building, the carport area.
And the enclosed carport will remain a garage?
Yes, it will have
Okay.
a garage door in front.
So staff, is the carport part of the original built structure?
Yes, board, it was built originally, and they want to enclose it, and actually, I just want to bring it up when this gentleman came, so he was not even looking for a variance on the north side, but we found out with the survey that, there is an existing structure, so we said, why don't you go for, because it's already there, and you're asking for a variance, so. we went
Okay.
to the board.
Bring it into compliance.
Get into compliance.
Right.
With respect to the south side, that canopy, or that's out there, the back patio, is that part of the original structure? Because I noticed one says, one part of the discussion talks about it being an existing structure, and the other doesn't really say that. So is that new?
The one in the back?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was built, probably like 6 years ago. But we're gonna remove all that, and we're gonna follow that line to make it, a balcony. In the back, you're saying?
Right.
So the house has a balcony that comes from the carport back.
I'm talking about the other side of the house.
Oh, no, the
I think we're done with looking at the carport
carport
side.
Oh, the other side? No, there's just a storage that was built, God knows when. I don't know when it was built.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the application. It looks like there is a roofed over open area in the back that sits into the side yard. And I was assuming that was what the second variance request was for.
No,
It's the back of the first one.
What?
the back
In
of the
back of the
first.
first one.
Yes, correct. That's
All
the
right.
back of the first one.
And is that part of the original structure?
I believe so. I didn't build it.
Do we know if it was part of the original house?
Chair, we could not verify it because this, that is up and down the structure. I could not physically verify it.
So we even tried to go to the city to get like original plans, and they didn't have it.
No, I think this predates the
Yeah.
city out there.
Yeah,
This
so we
was the
couldn't-
county at one point.
Right, so we
And
couldn't.
it's very
even-
tough to get, so are you planning on enclosing that area?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
That's not part of this application, is it?
I think that is, well, enclosing it, no. Leaving it in place because it's sitting in the side yard is part of the application.
The structure, I think, that you're referring to isn't part of it. It's not that shade structure, it's a. Well, they're working on that.
Yeah.
Closet kind. Have you been in contact with any of your neighbors? Their opinions on
There's
it?
one on the
Yes,
side of the house.
yes, I have.
Speak to that. This thing is not part of it.
Oh, that if I ask my neighbors around?
Yeah, like-
Yeah, of course.
No, but this sits in the side yard setback. I think they are. I think that's the other. So, Mr. Colombo, because I want to make sure
Chair, I just want to
understand.
make sure this terrace in the back, you told me it is going to go down, right?
What exactly?
This structure in the back,
Yes,
it is
yes,
going
that's
to,
gonna go
it's
down.
going to be removed,
Yes, correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay,
Structure is going to be removed. in the
Good.
back. That's what he told me.
Perfect.
Yes.
got it.
So what
It was not permitted.
for the record, what is being
Got it.
referred to is the item marked as terrace on the site plan. That is on the southwest portion of the property near
Correct, yeah.
Got it.
That's gonna
Okay.
be removed. And also,
Now I'm a lot clearer about the application.
sure. And for the record too, I've asked my neighbors in and around my house, and,
Any of them here tonight?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. And have we gotten any letters of objection from the neighbors? Gotten any letters of support? Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Blake.
You okay? Sounded like you were getting murdered over there.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm about to hear a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We just asked for members of the public and didn't hear anybody.
Did you already do it, or? Yes, he did.
Yeah. No, not the motion, the members of the public. You got a motion? Go ahead.
In case number PLN BOA 21110001, I'd like to make a motion to approve both variances, the side yard and the north yard setbacks, as they meet the criteria for variance under the UDLR.
Perfect. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Maxey seconds. Any board discussion? If not, let's do a roll call on this if we can.
Mr. Maxey,
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
Yes?
Mr. Lambrex,
Yes.
Mr. McTeague,
Yes.
and Chair Nelson.
Yes,
Passed 5-0.
motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, let's call item number BOA 2012-0005, Paul Jarbeau and Luis Liskowski. And my apologies for not pulling this up to the front of the agenda. We should have had you guys in and out of here. Have both of you guys been sworn?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Any voir dire? None?
None.
None for myself?
None.
None.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'd say the floor is yours, but you could probably make do with about 5 sentences
Okay.
before the board's gonna be ready to vote on this.
All right. So I don't, unless you tell me otherwise, I won't go through the entire presentation that was created for you all to
If we think you
describe it.
need it, we'll call you back up.
Okay. So what we are asking for is a variance to the back setback. Our current back setback is 14.72 from the rear of the property, and we're asking it to go to 14.6. So around an inch, 1.4 inches difference.
Okay, let me make sure, because this just says you're asking for a 0.4 inch setback. We assumed from the existing building just because it was apparently surveyed incorrectly the first time. Are you doing new construction and moving further into that setback?
So the original property, built in 1957, was built out of compliance to the new requirements. So it was built at 14.7. The hardship would be, in order to get to.
Oh, we're not gonna ask you to tear down your house, don't worry.
Okay.
That's pretty much.
Okay, we just wanted to make sure you weren't building something new and making it even smaller.
No, we are not.
Wonderful presentation, gentlemen. Any questions by the board?
I've got a quick one. What's the level of error that would be acceptable in this type of situation? Like if a compliance person comes up and says, I'm an eighth of an inch short, like that does seem a little crazy.
Were you asking what staff's level or what?
Yeah, exactly. Or what, I mean, just for my future reference, like if I'm ever in the situation, like.
Staff is supposed to look at the survey, and if it's below 15 feet, it's not
That's exactly
A
it.
coat of paint.
It is what it
have,
is.
as I understand it, right
Whatever's on the
around
paper.
0 discretion. Yeah,
Okay,
that's one of the problems with the code.
now I know.
Is there a motion? Mr. Maxey, do you have a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
I would like to make a motion for the case to approve the variance as it meets the minimum requirements set forth in the ULDR for the variance.
And that would be for case number 2012-0005, correct?
Correct.
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. I'm not even going to call for roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show unanimous approval. Have a good evening,
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're not in the habit of telling people to tear down their 1950s houses because the survey is off.
I was tempted, just to see it happen.
Just, yeah. Our last item for the night, and I want to thank the kitchens in advance for bringing us their kitchen variants. You've made my entire week. Next item is 2012-0006, 2657 Northeast 37th Drive, Fort Lauderdale, represented by Stephanie Toothaker. Ms. Toothaker, I see you there. Are you making the presentation?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair.
You want to introduce yourself, and the
I
floor
will.
is yours.
I will.
What?
My,
I'm sorry. Any voir dire? My apologies.
Spoke with counsel.
Spoke with counsel.
I spoke with counsel.
Conversation with counsel.
Spoke with counsel.
You're 5 for 5.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I am Stephanie Toothaker. I'm here on behalf of the Kitchen family, and with me is Roy Edwards, who's with my office, and John Lytle, who is the general contractor on the project. This microphone is very awkward. It is like it.
But we don't actually have the kitchens here?
No, they're not here. I'm sorry.
Spoiled the whole joke.
I'm sorry. I know it was good though.
It's okay.
So they're cooking. So this is a variance request for an accessory structure. It's got a little bit of history on it. It's not a very long presentation, but I am going to take you through it. So the project is in the Coral Ridge Country Club area. It faces the golf course, although there is a lake between the home and the golf course. And it is a new build. It is a new construction. It's a new one with a driveway with 3-car garage, single family, and it's surrounded on all sides by other single family homes. So this is important history. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that this accessory structure did actually receive a building permit early on in the process. So in November of 2019, the principal building and the accessory structure received a building permit. In 2019, the construction began. In 2021, the accessory structure construction was completed, and then the builder went in for a permit revision to include the kitchen equipment. So the structure was approved, and it was the kitchen equipment that then, it got installed. But then that's when staff said, we think that you might need a variance for this. So just to be clear, the structure wasn't built without a proper permit. And so when the structure came through for the permit revision, that is the point where the variance issue was raised. So the home itself actually has a certificate of occupancy. We were able to separate. The building department was very good to us and allowed us to separate those two permits. So the family is living there now, but they just can't use their outdoor kitchen. So another really important point is that the accessory structure meets all the setback requirements. It basically meets everything that is required. And here I'm just showing you the land use is low, zoning is RS44. And these type of accessory structures, everybody has them. They're very common, these outdoor kitchens that, we've got these summer kitchens. And so we just took some pictures of some of the other homes in the general vicinity that are fairly close that actually have this exact same kind of freestanding shade structure with outdoor kitchens, and just some aerials that shows you that. So the code says in 4719.2 that freestanding shade structures shall be open on all sides and shall be no greater in height than 12 feet measured from the ground to the top of the structure. As I said, the structure was properly permitted, and only after the fact when we were seeking a variance for the kitchen equipment, the outdoor kitchen equipment, we were also asked to seek a variance for a foot, which was not brought up in the original plans when the permit was issued. So there are 2 variances that are actually before you. And the code interpretation also says an outdoor kitchen barbecue may incorporate electrical, plumbing for an outdoor sink, refrigerator, gas lines, similar uses commonly included in outdoor kitchen. And it goes on to say an outdoor kitchen barbecue may be incorporated into a shade structure as long as no one side of the structure is enclosed and all sides remain open to the outside. And so the variance request, as I said, the first is to request a partially enclosed shade structure, and the second is the additional foot, which was not called out when the permit was actually issued. That's an after the fact, was raised after the fact. So this is the accessory structure. And so I know I've had a lot of discussions with staff about whether this constitutes an enclosed structure or not. I don't think it does. It's open on all 4 sides. It's completely open on one side, and on the side that faces towards the golf course, it's actually partially open to the ground. So that kitchen equipment is really just on 2 sides. And I think the question is really more of an interpretation of whether or not this constitutes an enclosed structure, which I don't think it is. I don't know where else you would put your kitchen equipment but for building it in, other than just putting it down the center of the shade structure and saying, okay, well, I'm not enclosing it because you know, it's not touching the posts that hold the shade structure up. So it's kind of one of those little bit of misnomers in the code. I don't think that the intention is to say that you can't enclose your kitchen equipment and you can't connect it to the posts that hold your shade structure up. And so, going through the variance criteria, you know, we do think there are special conditions and circumstances that affect the property. Number one, the permit was properly issued for the structure and it was built with such, and I don't think anybody could have ever anticipated that, you know, when you go to put your kitchen equipment in, you can't enclose it, because of course you're gonna do that. You're building a nice home. You're not gonna wheel, you know, a Home Depot grill in. You're gonna enclose it. You're gonna encase it as every other person in Fort Lauderdale does. And the other issue I think is that the structure is technically open on all four sides. The circumstances that cause the special conditions are peculiar to the property at issue. Again, these are common. They're all over this, not just every neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, but this neighborhood. And they look exactly like this. They look exactly like they have. I have this in my backyard. It's very interesting to me that this is, that you can't enclose the kitchen equipment. That the literal applications of the provision of the ULDR would deprive the applicant of a substantial property right. I think that absolutely applies here. As I said, these exist everywhere, and the shade structure was properly permitted with a permit and built to the permit. The grant of the variance is necessary to avoid practical difficulties. Yes, it's already built. Certainly, again, you know, the permit was properly issued, it was built to the permit, and it was only the enclosing of the cabinetry enclosing the outdoor kitchen equipment that seemed to cause the issue. Which I think anybody common sense would have thought that that's not going to be an issue, because they're common and there's really no other way to do it. And we believe that the hardship is there because, again, it was properly built pursuant to a properly applied for permit. And again, you know, I just want to show you again that it's open. There's no intention to enclose this further or to add windows. I think that the intent really behind this code section is to prevent, you know, granny flats, to prevent people from going in and building a second little home beside the home with a bathroom and a kitchen and whatnot. It's not to prevent you from being able to do a summer kitchen, which is, you know, pretty common, especially when you're building a modern home, and we see a lot of construction around town. So we did reach out to our neighbors, and we do have letters from neighbors on both sides of the home that is requesting the variance, and they probably have these structures themselves. So that concludes my presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Would you like to reserve any time for rebuttal if you need any?
Sure, yes, please, thank you.
Any member of the public who would like to speak on this item? Not only hearing none, but seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments, questions by the board? I've got a couple.
I just got a
That are
question.
staff. So in my mind, this is kind of a really slippery slope, and I honestly wish the applicant would have brought this not as a variance, but as a request for interpretation. Because determining what is enclosed is tough to do here. The code says it's got to be open on all sides, so I think that would prevent windows. The kitchen can't be more than 42 inches high, I think it says, and I think it meets that. But when you try to figure out what it means to be enclosed, that's where it gets tough. Is on a 10-foot wall is 5 feet of kitchen mean it's enclosed? How about 6 feet? How about 7 feet? How about 8 feet? How about 9 feet? How about 9 foot 11? Is it still enclosed? So in my mind, as I look at this, as long as it is not a wall of kitchen or kitchen equipment and then a closable window, it's open. So in my mind, as I look at this, this isn't enclosed, which is why it would be easier to do as an interpretation, but that's not the application before it's a variance. But that's just my take. But do we have a code definition in the ULDR for what enclosed means with respect to a structure?
So the Bert with the city of Fort Lauderdale zoning, it is supposed to be 100% open, no enclosure of the walls whatsoever. A determination was made some years ago because of the request to be able to put these kitchens in, that the then zoning administrator said, okay, he wrote a determination that one side of the four sides could be enclosed up to 42 inches, but the other three sides has to remain completely open. And then the issue with this one is that it has that enclosure, the 42-inch enclosure on more than one side.
Right.
But that's the determination that was made by the zoning administrator, that it was supposed to be 100% open, and he was going to allow one side.
And that was, I take it, Greg's interpretation?
Pardon me?
That was, I take it, Greg's interpretation?
It was Anthony Fajardo's.
Yeah, before Greg's interpretation and Terry's interpretation was it has to be open on all sides.
Right.
And if anybody wants a barbecue or anything, it can be portable, they can have portable barbecues. Don't show it on the plans, you can have it, we don't care.
Okay.
That was the interpretation before, but Anthony made an interpretation before me to have, at least give one side to have up to 42 inches high.
Assistant City Attorney Dwayne Spence. Actually, the language in the code reads specifically that freestanding structure, shade structure shall be open on all sides and shall be no greater in height than 12 feet measured from the ground, is what's taken out of subsection C, 4719-2.
Yeah, see, I'm just having a hard time understanding in the context of this, what open versus enclosed means with respect to a shade structure. So if I've got a curb rail on the bottom to keep the kids from running out, is that enclosed? Is it enclosed when it's a row of cabinets? Is it enclosed when it's a full wall and windows or just a full wall? And that's a hard, slippery slope for me to make.
And to your point, it's more of a question of interpretation, but what they're interpreting is what the code means by it being open on all sides.
Sure.
Not enclosed, but what open means.
Right, exactly. Right, that's just my question. That's my take on the application. So, any questions, any comments, any?
And just a quick comment, I mean, it sounds like the city's position is a little more aggressive than this would apply for, but in parking garages, there are the set of equations that you have to justify whether or not the garage is actually open or not.
And I was thinking of that, and in this case, this would be open.
Exactly. You would give them a math equation to say, hey, look, if you've got this much facade, you need at least this much. But it doesn't sound like it doesn't apply.
Yes.
It's either all or
Right.
nothing when it comes to.
Is this how the original plan was forth and approved by the city? With
I
this-
think it was open on all four sides.
That's what you said.
Right?
The shade structure was approved, but the revision that went in included the cabinetry.
And that's where.
And that's when then staff said,
When whether it's open or enclosed discussion came up.
but it was, at that point, it was built. I don't think anybody could have, if someone had come to me and said, can you give us an opinion if this is permitted, I would have said, absolutely.
Right.
I would have written an opinion
Being
saying.
enclosed is to the elements, to weather, stuff like that.
Right.
Right,
Air conditioning.
exactly.
All the way to the
that's
ceiling.
enclosed, right?
Yeah,
Or at least the massing equation that we
Right.
put to parking garages, and most municipalities put to parking garages, determine whether it's an open structure or closed structure. But I see these all over the city. Unfortunately, I don't see one in my backyard, but that's besides the point. But I
Keep in mind, the Florida Building Code for the parking garage has to do with exhaust, and a certain percentage has to be open. It really doesn't have anything to do with it.
right.
Yeah,
Air
I was
quality
going to
issue. Got it.
answer your question, Chair, that if it's a life safety issue for heights, we do allow to go 42 inches higher, like, if it's an open roof, you can have a 42-inch high railing, which is, if it's a life safety issue, yes, we do allow it. 42 inches.
Got it. Okay. So there are two variance requests here. One is for the height of the structure, which apparently as permitted was a bit too high. And then the other is the enclosure / non-enclosure.
that's correct.
So, any more questions by the board, or are we ready to move on this? I'm seeing heads indicating we're ready to move on this. Ms. Toothaker, any final words or rebuttal before we?
I appreciate your consideration very much.
Very good. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, or I'm sorry,
Maybe motions, unless you want to put them all together in
I
one.
was going to start with the case number. Under case number PLN BOA 211200006. I'd like to make a motion to approve both variances. The first outdoor kitchen to be partially enclosed on 3 sides, and the second variance for the maximum height to be 13 feet,
Right.
as it meets the
Because they meet the requirements for the issuance of variance under the ULDR. So we have one motion moving forward with a positive approval, both variances. Is there anybody on the board who would like to see these split into 2 motions because it may affect their vote? I'd like, wait, you know what, let's leave it at 1. We've got one motion and we'll figure it out from there.
I'll second.
If anybody has an issue, they can raise it before we vote. So we've got a motion, and I think I've got a second. Let's go for the roll.
Mr. Maxey,
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
yes.
Mr. Lambricks,
Yes.
Mr. McTeague,
Yes.
Chair Nelson.
I kind of almost don't count. We've already got 4 votes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right. That is all of the items we have for tonight. Any communication to the city commission? I don't want to say caution the board. I advise the board, we've just found out that our vice chair, who we've thought of as our incoming chair-elect after this year, will be termed out on this commission. So we need to start thinking towards next year, even though it is early, as to what we're gonna do for advancement through the board. Any comments or statements for the good of the city?
The
Yes.
Go ahead.
only thing I have is just what we just saw there. I wonder if do we need to revisit the code?
I personally think that's a great code concept.
The way that it is, or which way?
No, I think we need to take a look at how we want to treat
Yeah,
this.
to me, again, whatever, yeah, I would have thought that was an open structure, but, they do say, you have the wording in there that it states 1 wall, 42 inches high and all that different stuff, so.
So,
I just almost,
Or,
most of the
yeah.
state ones I'm seeing are at least 2 or 3 sides.
Mohammed, would you like that in the form of a request to the city commission that you guys take a look at that, or you want to just take a look at it? You tell me.
Yes, if you can send it, because that would be much easier.
It's-
So I'm back to the communication to the city.
Is that where okay.
Right, and we'd like the city to take a look at how we treat both open versus enclosed or partially enclosed shade structures for the purposes of outdoor kitchens.
Yes. Beautiful.
Consensus on
That
the
was
board?
that was just beautiful.
It rolls off his tongue,
This is
doesn't
why
it?
I make my living talking.
Hmm.
But yeah, because again, people are adding refrigerators, all these things, outdoor spaces, a big
Yep.
part of living in Florida. And we don't want the gentleman, hamstrung by something nor the citizens, so,
Right, and we also don't want to just add to the process.
no.
Right.
Nor do we want to have to do variances
Okay.
and stuff.
And obviously, as long as it conforms to like what the norm is and what is already out there, so.
But we also want some,
And it
we
may be that
want
they want
some
it just a little-
standard reliability.
Yeah,
I don't want the
yeah.
next person to come in and they've got this much left between their wall of kitchen and the
No,
roof.
of course. I think the height was all good. I think it's whether they can enclose the lower 2 or 3 sides for me, not
Right,
any more height, no, because that does, count for more enclosure.
The general height is up to maximum 42 inches.
For me, that's fine. It
Yeah.
was, you know what I mean? If we only give them 1 wall, are you putting the fridge next to the grill, next to the, you know what I mean? Whereas, and people like it for countertop space and all. So I agree, the 42 wouldn't change in my book. It's whether you would allow a second or third wall, or.
no, I mean,
or space.
I do mine with actually a freestanding, not attached tiki bar, but
Mhm.
it's the same thing. I couldn't do with a half a wall if I wanted to cook.
That's my
outside.
thing. The 1 wall seems a little restrictive.
Yeah.
But no more height. I'm
All right.
good with the height.
And if you're talking about enclosing 2 or 3 of the walls, maybe the standard cabinet size might be better, 36 inches,
Okay.
which is a standard countertop height.
Right,
Those type things,
Instead of
yes.
42.
allowing maybe one wall to go up to the bar height of 42.
Then that way it's not
Right.
as much.
That way
Right.
you can serve people at bar height if they're sitting there.
Right, and for the record, yeah, I'm not talking any more height to the, over
No.
the 42. I agree with what Bert just said. It
Right.
was more about.
Do you guys need more clarification other than that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You want to read all that back?
I don't think I heard anything for the good of the city, so I would love to hear a motion to.
I just
Yes.
wanted to vote on the communication.
Just
but
say
I'll-
second.
Yeah, we had a second.
Second.
Yeah, and a straw consensus of the board.
I just wanted to inform the board, back in 2019, you voted on you issued a final order on an interpretation with regards to the section 4719.3 boat slip stocks, divots and so forth, brought by Scott Lieberman. That was challenged in circuit court. The circuit court upheld it. That was challenged to the DCA, and the DCA upheld the circuit court's, affirmed rather, the circuit court's findings. So I just want to let the board know that your order stands.
Good.
That reference.
I'm trying to remember, I just remember it was an unpleasant hearing.
Yes.
Right, I
That's
can't
why-
remember
that's
the
why
issue,
you
I just
got
remember
it.
it was an unpleasant hearing. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? We are so
So
adjourned.
moved. Second.